you make a decision in an instant. And if you make that decision today, then where are you going to be in a month or 3 months from now or the end of this year? Like, where will you be at when you make that decision today? So a few birthdays ago, I got a present from my mum and dad, and it was a flying lesson. I've always been really intrigued by flying. I think it's really cool, especially like female pilots. There's just something so cool about it. So I booked in this lesson, and I was equally excited and terrified at the same time by the prospect of actually attempting to fly a plane. So I arrived in my lesson, and the guy took me out to the field, and there was all these like tiny, tiny little planes out there. So he took me over to this plane, and it, to be honest, looked like the most rickety this oldest little thing ever. And I was like, oh my God, we're actually getting in this. So we got in the plane, and it was tiny, and we started like rattling off down towards the end of the runway. It's this grass runway. We were like bumping our way over to the runway. We got to the end of the runway, he turns the engine off, and he's doing these checks, and I was like, why are you turning the engine off? And he was like, just checking everything. And I was like, oh my gosh, I am terrified right now. Anyway, so we got going, and we were bumping along down this runway, and finally we took off into the air, and we were flying, and I was like, this is pretty cool. So we're flying around, and he's showing me what to do, and then he says, right now it's your turn to fly the plane. I was like, bloody hell, I'm not ready for this. So anyway, he tells me what to do, so I'm sat there, and I'm flying the plane, and all of a sudden nose starts to dip on the plane, and I started to freak out that it was dipping, and I didn't know what to do, and I panicked. And he turned to me, and he said, Carrie, don't let the plane mess you around. I was like, well, yeah, don't let the plane mess me around. Like, what the hell am I doing? And so I did what he had told me previously to do. I tipped pulled the steering thing, and the plane corrected itself. And I got home, and Callum, my husband, said to me, how was the flying lesson? I was like, oh my gosh, it was the best personal development lesson in the world. And I told him the story and about how he'd said, Carrie, don't let the plane mess you around. And I was like, it was such a light bulb moment to me, because I was like, so often I let things mess me around, whether it's other people or whether it's myself. And I'm just like, it made me think, like, how much does that impact my life? The fact that I just was living by this default decision, that I was letting things mess me around. And it really like stuck with me and made me realize, like, I don't want to let things mess me around. No, thank you. So then from then on, like, every time I was doing something, like even for example, going to the gym and working out, I'd be like, I am not going to let you mess me around. I am doing this. And I felt like it was really empowering. Anyway, I'm telling you this story because I feel like, it's not that I feel like, I know that the decisions we make every single day are literally creating the future for us. And so often, without realizing it, we are making these default decisions based on a number of things. Most of the time, a set of beliefs that we're holding about ourselves. Potentially, sometimes even just making decisions based on things that we're not even consciously, for example, for me with that plane situation, like, it just wasn't a conscious thought. Like, I just wasn't taking control of the situation. And obviously there were so many factors involved, and I'd never flown a plane before, but the decisions that we make are changing our life. They're literally creating our future. It's like that quote said, watch your thoughts because they become words. Watch your words because they become actions. Watch your actions because that becomes habit. Watch your habits because that becomes your character. And watch your character because that becomes your destiny. And it's so true. Every day, the way we think and the words we speak, everything is kind of putting us in this place where we're making these decisions, and these tiny little insignificant decisions that we make on a day-to-day basis are literally shaping our future. And so I wanted to talk about this because it's so interesting when you actually take a step back to look at, like, what decisions am I making, and how is this actually helping me to live the life or build the business that I actually want to build. And I wanted to share some things with you of like the impact that your decisions can have and how quickly they can have an impact. So as a really quick example, last month or so, I realized that I wanted to reconnect with people. I feel like since having kids and with COVID and everything, I just kind of really got out of the habit of connecting with people. I just stopped being part of groups. I stopped really chatting to a lot of the people that I knew in the online space. And I just felt really out of the loop and really disconnected. And I was like, you know what? I really need to start connecting again. And so I just made this really clear decision that I was going to focus on reconnecting with people and building new relationships, new friendships, and just showing up to support other people and to just see what could happen. So I made that decision, and not long after that, I got an email from somebody, and she was asking me a question about something, and then she sent me another email, and she said, "Oh, I'm hosting an online Zoom call with a bunch of amazing people. It would be great for you to come and join it." And it was like 40 or so other amazing entrepreneurs. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'd love to. A part of me feels like when you make a decision, there's part of you that starts to open up yourself to look out for opportunities that maybe you weren't looking out for before. It's the exact same when I decided to start FEA. I, for so long, just went round and round and round in circles, and I've had so much imposter syndrome around getting started with it and actually doing it. And then one day I just made the decision that I was going to do it. I made the decision that I was going to build the Female Entrepreneur Association, and I was doing it. That was it. And so quickly things started to happen. And well, it was because I made that decision. I was like, well, what's my next little step? So then my next little step was I'm going to go on LinkedIn and I'm going to see who's over there and who I might be able to connect with. Who could I support? Who could I reach out to? And so I started to connect with people, and I started to pay attention to the invites I was getting on LinkedIn, and I started to say yes to opportunities. I started to say yes to going to, meet new people and going to networking events. And I started to say yes to that decision. And I think so often that we are not making the right decisions to move ourselves forward. Because, for example, on the other side of all of those decisions, the decisions to connect with people, or the decision to connect with more people, the decision to overcome my money blocks, the decision to start my business, on the other side of that decision is another decision. And the decisions that I was living before I made that decision were I wasn't really deciding to connect with anyone. I was deciding passively to not, which is fine, but that was the decision I was making. I wasn't connecting with people. I wasn't reaching out to people. I wasn't thinking about connecting with people like that. I just wasn't thinking. It wasn't in my mind. Before starting my business, I was making decisions that were holding me back and keeping me stuck. Whereas when I made the decision, I'm blooming doing this, then I started to make decisions, what's my next step? And I'm going to start connecting with people. And what else could I do? And I just started looking at my brain, went into what are the tiny little steps I could start taking to actually bring this to life? And I started to focus on those tiny little steps, and I started to build momentum, and it was like a big snowball. And it just, when you take those tiny little steps in the right direction that are aligned with that decision, it's amazing how quickly it can snowball, and how within the space of even a few short days, or, a few short weeks, a few short months, the difference in your life is enormous. And so I wanted to say, what decisions have you been making for yourself? If you think about your life and your business, what decisions are you making for yourself on, what big decisions have you been making, or what small decisions have you been making, and how is that impacting your life? Are you going in the direction you want to be going in? And do you need to make some new decisions for yourself? Because it's really interesting how when we make those decisions, the trajectory of our lives, how much it changes. And it's with a pilot flying a plane, when a pilot takes off, if they turn the nose of the plane by literally barely anything, like a foot or something, that plane will then land hundreds and hundreds of miles away from where it was meant to land by just changing the trajectory, the tiniest amount. And it's the same for us. When we make a decision that maybe seems tiny, it can change the trajectory of where we're going massively. So I feel like for me, focusing on what are the decisions I need to make in order to make my life more amazing, to make my business more successful? What decisions do I need to make? So, for example, for me, at the moment, one of the biggest decisions and the biggest realizations is like, I absolutely have to make time to learn more, because when we're not learning, we're not growing. If we're not growing, then it's hard to really progress, I think, with especially in business. You can't not learn and grow and expect your business to grow. And so the decision I was making was making the decision not to learn and making the decision not to make time for it. So then when I made a really clear decision of like, I am going to start learning more, like I am going to become like an avid learner again and just learn and grow and grow and grow. And that's what I want to do. And then since then, obviously, like 50 million courses pop up and I'm like, yes, I want this one and this one. But then obviously I didn't get carried away and like organized myself with like, this is what I want to learn. This is when I want to learn it. These are the days I'm going to dedicate to learning. This is the time frame I've allocated to learning and implementing. And this is the order in which I'm going to go through everything in. But even in doing that and just making that decision, again, it's opened up so many things, and it's already started to have an impact on the results that I'm seeing in my business. So it's like, I just find it so interesting that like our decisions obviously impact our businesses and our lives. And so the question is like, what decisions are you making? Are you making good decisions? Are you making decisions that are actually getting you to where you want, or are you not? And even just in analyzing that and just really taking a few minutes to think about, actually, no, I really need to make this decision, like a better decision with this, can change everything. Because once you make that decision and you commit to that decision, and then you start taking tiny little steps that align with that decision, it just begins to change everything, and so quickly as well. And like, I mean, I really personally have always believed in like manifesting and the power of the universe and the power of stating what you want and putting out there. So I just really believe that when you put out there what you want, it's incredible. And you open yourself up to receiving what you want, is amazing what can come back. And you know me, I mean, if you listen to my stuff, you know that like I love doing like little mantras and allowing myself to open up. So for example, we're like saying things like, you know, thank you so much for all of the amazing ideas that I receive, for the amazing opportunities I receive. Thank you so much for helping the right people to show up in my life at the right time. Thank you for helping me to connect with the most incredible entrepreneurs that I give me the opportunity to learn and to share with them and to build amazing relationships with them. Thank you so much for all the support that I receive in being able to establish these new relationships. And I just put it out there and I just start saying it, and I just start allowing myself to feel it coming into my life and to believe that it's coming in, and it's just really, really powerful. So if you are feeling like, things aren't really where I want them to be right now, like what decisions could you make that would help you to actually change the trajectory that you're on and get onto the pathway that you want to actually be on? Like what decisions could you make right now? And the powerful thing is that you make a decision in an instant. And if you make that decision today, then where are you going to be in a month or 3 months from now or the end of this year? Like, where will you be at when you make that decision today? Like, make it with conviction. Make that decision. Decide, like, this is a decision I'm making. This is what I'm going to welcome into my life. And it's just so powerful what can then happen, how that starts to manifest itself. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you because I feel like this is like huge in my life and huge in helping to shape the success that I've had. And I fully know I would not be where I am today had I not made those decisions in the past. So often we don't necessarily have to do huge things in order to have breakthroughs. So just have a think of what decisions you could make that could really change things for you in all different areas of your life, and especially in your business. Like, what decisions could you make today that will really help you to have the most incredible year in business? So I hope that has been helpful. If you've loved this episode, I would love it if you could share it or leave a review, because when you leave a review on the podcast, then so many more people find it. So I would really, really appreciate that. And I'll see you next week for another episode of the She Means Business Show.